Well, we're expecting a blockbuster day for the Supreme Court. The justices are set to rule on the final 6 cases on their docket this term. That includes Obamacare, as well as LGBTQ storybooks in elementary schools. And they'll decide whether President Trump can enforce his order to end birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to undocumented parents. For now, I'm joined by Zach Schoenfeld, courts and legal reporter for thehill.com. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Zach.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start with the big headliner here, birthright citizenship. While the court currently has a 6-3 conservative majority, we've heard tense questioning from the justices to the U.S. Solicitor General surrounding this case. So do you anticipate the high court to lean a certain direction here?
You know, Alex, when I think it comes to the merits of whether Trump's executive order is constitutional and complies with the 14th Amendment, we heard in those oral arguments there wasn't a single justice who spoke up to actually defend the constitutionality. So at the very end of this whole saga, I think there are ominous signs for this executive order's future. But at this stage of the case, the Trump administration has told the Supreme Court they don't need to settle whether this order is constitutional. Instead, the administration wants the Supreme Court justices to issue an order that reins in these lower district judges who have been issuing nationwide injunctions, these rulings that don't only apply to the plaintiffs who are actually suing in court, they go a step further and block the president's policies nationwide. We've seen this happen in dozens of cases. There's been 3 of these nationwide injunctions in the birthright citizenship case. So today's decision is really set to have major ripple effects, both on that birthright citizenship battle, but really on these dozens of other cases against the Trump administration on all sorts of policy issues.
Yeah, it feels like more now than ever we've seen a battle between the executive and the judicial branch, so something definitely to watch for there. All right, we promised some of these other cases as well for the undecided as we enter this final day of the term. Let's take a look at some of them. The Supreme Court set to rule on a law enacted in Texas that imposes age restrictions for accessing online pornography. Also, whether religious parents can opt their elementary-age children out of LGBTQ-themed books in class. Also, a challenge to the Affordable Care Act's Preventative Care Task Force and what's covered under Obamacare. Long-running litigation over whether race-based congressional districts in Louisiana are lawful. And then the legality of an FCC program that subsidizes phone and internet services in underserved areas. So I know I just threw a lot there at you. Which of these cases sticking out the most to you? Which one do you think Americans are most concerned about?
You know, I know one that got a lot of attention when it went to oral arguments is that case coming out of Montgomery County, Maryland, whether parents are entitled under the First Amendment's religious protections, whether they can opt out their children, elementary school age children specifically, from participating in language arts curriculum that includes books with LGBTQ themes. Coming out of those oral arguments, it seemed that the Supreme Court's conservative majority appeared ready to side with the parents in this dispute. Obviously, here we now are on the final decision day of the term, and this is one of the big ones we're waiting for. These parents very optimistic that they're going to pull out a victory today. So that's a big one. But as you just went through there in that list, there's quite a number of other big ones as well.
Do you believe that this Maryland curriculum case is more about religious freedoms or parental control over what kids read in school?
It's really the intersection of the two. The argument here is that this is no different than a Supreme Court case decades ago when the Supreme Court held that states cannot require Amish children to attend public schools beyond the 8th grade. The Supreme Court in that case said that parents have the constitutional right to direct the religious and education upbringing of their children. And so now these parents in Montgomery County, Maryland are citing that case and saying, just as the court in that case ruled for the Amish children, that just here, without an opt-out, that their religious exercise is being burdened. So it really is right at that intersection of both religious rights, but also parental rights as well.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.